You're standing at the sink after dinner, hands in cold, soapy water. Everyone else is in the living room, laughing at a show you chose, eating dessert you bought, in a home you keep running like a quiet machine. From the doorway, someone smiles and says, "You're honestly the glue that holds this family together. We don't know what we'd do without you." You smile back on cue, but something in your chest sinks because you know exactly what they'd do without you. They'd figure it out. Here's the strange part. The more you show up, the more invisible you feel. The more you love them, the more trapped you become in proving it. This video isn't about whether you love them. You do. It's about what happens when love stops feeling like a place you can rest and starts feeling like a job you can't afford to lose. Why you feel guilty for needing less. Why saying no feels like betrayal. And how to slowly untangle genuine love from the obligation that's choking it. Because you're not ungrateful. You're just exhausted from carrying relationships as if they'll collapse the second you put them down. Let's name it clearly. You don't just feel responsible for the people you love. You feel responsible for their feelings about you. If they're disappointed, you failed. If they're upset, you did something wrong. If they pull back, you must have dropped the ball somewhere. So you spend your days doing emotional inventory. Did I reply fast enough? Did I sound annoyed? Did I ask for too much? The relationships that are supposed to make you feel safest are the ones where you are constantly managing your performance. You say yes when your whole body is screaming no. You listen for hours, even when your brain is fogging over. You show up to events you don't have capacity for, and then punish yourself for feeling resentful. When did love become the feeling of bracing for someone's reaction? 24/7. Maybe you notice it most in the quiet moments. The dread before a phone call with a parent. The tension in your jaw when a partner says, "Can we talk?" The way you rehearse your answers before you pick up, so you don't accidentally sound cold, distant, ungrateful. You tell yourself, "They've done so much for me. They need me. They're sensitive." It's not that hard to just be there, right? Except it is hard, because you're not just doing what's asked. You're also carrying what's implied. The unspoken rules. If you really loved me, you'd answer right away. If you really cared, you wouldn't need space. If you're not available, it must mean I don't matter to you. You learn to hear those rules even when no one says them out loud. So now even small acts, turning off your phone, not replying immediately, needing a day to yourself, feel like moral failures, not choices, crimes. Underneath all of this, there's a quieter grief you don't talk about. You miss a version of love you've never actually had. One where you could show up messy, tired, inconsistent. Where no wouldn't be a threat, just a boundary. You didn't grow up with that blueprint, so now every attempt to rest feels like sabotage. And maybe part of you is wondering right now if this is actually you, or if you're just overthinking. So here's a small experiment. Notice which line landed like a punch in your stomach. The one that hurts is usually the one that's true for you. If you recognize yourself in this, you can say so somewhere, a comment, a journal, even just in your own head. Not for me, but as a first tiny act of honesty. I'm tired of love feeling like obligation. Let's go underneath this. Because this didn't start with your current relationships. For a lot of people, love as obligation begins in childhood. Not always with big, obvious abuse. Sometimes with something much more subtle, conditional warmth. You were praised when you were helpful. You were easy to love when you were low maintenance. You were such a good kid when you didn't ask for too much. If you cried too long, if you had too many needs, if you disagreed at the wrong moment, the room went cold. Faces tightened, voices sharpened. So your nervous system did what it's designed to do. It adapted. It learned that closeness equals performance, that safety equals compliance, that love equals keeping other people comfortable, even at the cost of yourself. No one sat you down and said, love is a job description. But your body learned it anyway. Every time you swallowed your feelings to avoid a fight, your brain stamped in a message. This is how we stay safe. Every time you overfunctioned, so others didn't explode or fall apart, your body filed a note. This is how we keep our people. And here's the key. Your nervous system doesn't care if you're right or wrong. It cares if you survive. So now, as an adult, saying no doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels dangerous. Your heart races. Your stomach drops. Your mind rushes ahead to every possible negative outcome. Not because you're dramatic, but because somewhere inside your body still thinks, if I stop carrying this, I will lose them. Pause here for a second. Notice if there's even a tiny part of you that believes, if I stopped giving this much, they would leave or break or hate me. That belief is one of the chains. Another chain is the shame loop. You don't just feel obligated, you feel ashamed for feeling obligated. You think, other people would be grateful for this family, this partner, these friends. Who am I to complain? So you gaslight yourself before anyone else can. You minimize your exhaustion. You apologize for being difficult when you're just human. You call it overreacting when your body is simply telling the truth. Here's the twist. You think this makes you less of a burden, but it actually makes you easier to exploit. Not necessarily because the people around you are cruel. Sometimes they're just used to you being endlessly available. They've never seen you have edges. And the world we live in rewards that. This is where we have to zoom out for a moment. We love to individualize this problem like it's just your personal weakness, like you simply haven't read enough self-love quotes. But we live in cultures that romanticize self-sacrifice, especially in certain roles. Oldest daughter, only emotionally aware kid, partner who's better at feelings, friend who always knows what to say. Many families literally survive on the unpaid. Emotional labor of one person. Many workplaces survive on the unpaid extra effort of reliable people. Many relationships survive on the unspoken assumption that one person will bend more. If you're that person, you weren't just too kind. You were strategically useful in a system that didn't know how to function any other way. That's not a personal flaw. That's structural. So of course you feel guilty imagining stepping back. You're not just afraid of upsetting an individual. You're afraid of destabilizing an entire ecosystem that has quietly decided you are the stabilizer. If you're hearing your own story between these lines, you're not the only one. There's a whole invisible crowd of people who have been cast as the responsible one, the steady one, the one who will always answer, even if they're breaking. And because everyone benefits from you staying in that role, almost no one tells you the cost. The cost is that your own wants get blurry. When someone asks, "What do you actually like? What do you want from life?" your brain goes quiet, or it starts listing what would make everyone else proud, comfortable, impressed. Your desires have been trained to wear other people's faces. That's why love starts to feel like obligation, because you're not just loving them. You're trying to live their version of who you should be. Let's flip the lens for a moment. Imagine a friend described your life to you. They say, "I'm constantly anxious about disappointing people. I say yes to things that drain me. I feel responsible for everyone's mood. When I try to set a boundary, I feel like a monster." Would you look at them and think, "Wow, what a selfish person"? Of course not. You'd probably say, "You're carrying way too much. No wonder you're tired." But when the story is yours, you call it love, you call it loyalty, you call it just being there. This is the cruelest part. Under all the obligation, there is real love. You do care. You're not faking. That's what makes it so confusing. You don't want to throw everything away. You don't want to become cold, detached, unavailable. You just don't want to feel like your heart is on a time card, being punched in and out by everyone's needs. So you stay. You overgive. You burn out. Then you judge yourself for secretly fantasizing about disappearing for 6 months and not answering anyone. What if that fantasy isn't proof that you're unloving, but proof that you've been loving without oxygen for too long? What if the problem isn't that you feel too much obligation, but that the love you've been taught never included your own well-being as part of the equation? So, what do you do with this? How do you let love be love again, instead of unpaid labor? We start very small. First, name the pattern. You can literally call it obligation-shaped love or performing love. Your brain needs language, or else everything feels like a fog of guilt. Grab a page and draw 2 columns. On one side, write, things I do from fear of losing them. On the other, things I do from genuine choice. Don't overthink it. If your body clenches when you imagine saying no, it goes in the first column. If you'd still do it, even if they were totally fine without you, it probably goes in the second. That list is not a verdict, it's a map. Second, feel the stakes in your body, not just in your thoughts. Next time you're about to say yes, notice what happens in your chest, your throat, your stomach. Do you feel a tiny collapse? A spike of anxiety? A numbness that says, here we go again? Your body often tells the truth before your mouth does. Third, experiment with micro boundaries. Don't start with the nuclear option. Most nervous systems can't go from I never say no to I'm cutting everyone off without panicking. Try things like, I can't talk right now, but I can call you tomorrow. I'd love to come, but I can only stay for an hour. I can listen, but I don't have advice in me tonight. Notice, you're not withdrawing love. You're adjusting the shape of your availability. Fourth, rewrite the rule that says, if I disappoint them, I am bad. You will disappoint people when you stop overgiving. That's unavoidable. Some will adjust, some will be hurt. Some will reveal that what they wanted wasn't you. It was access to what you do for them. That will sting. It will also be clarifying. Your job is not to prevent all disappointment. Your job is to be honest enough that the people who stay are staying for you, not just your function. Fifth, find pockets of safe dependence. People who have lived in obligation often feel allergic to needing anyone. You might say, I don't want to burden anyone the way I've been burdened. But humans are not built for solo self-sufficiency. We're built for mutual care. Start tiny. Ask a friend for a small favor. Let someone bring you food. Let a partner carry one responsibility you've always quietly handled. Notice how your body reacts. The guilt. The urge to repay immediately. The voice that whispers, you're being too much. This is where you practice something new. Instead of overcorrecting, you breathe and say thank you. No extras, just receive. If this feels impossible, therapy or a support group can be the training ground where you rehearse new relational patterns in a contained, safer space. And then there's relapse. Because you will slip back into old roles, especially around holidays, crises, or when someone you love is hurting. You'll find yourself overextending, saying yes to everything, abandoning your own needs. Then you'll notice, and the shame will rush in. I thought I was past this. I'm so weak. In that moment, your work is not to be perfect. It's to be curious. Ask them, what scared me here? What story was I believing about what would happen if I didn't step in? Every relapse is data about where you still feel unsafe to be a full person. Instead of punishing yourself, you use that data to adjust. Maybe you have one more honest conversation. Maybe you shorten your visits. Maybe you stop answering messages after a certain hour. You're allowed to evolve in small, unglamorous increments. If you know real life will get loud and you'll forget all of this, it might help to keep this video somewhere you can find it again. So when you catch yourself slipping back into old obligations, you have a reminder of another way. So let's go back to that sink. The dishes, the show in the other room, the familiar compliment that feels like a collar. You're the glue that holds us together. This time, the moment stretches. You still care about these people. You still want them to be okay. But you also notice your own shoulders, aching. Your own eyes, heavy. In your mind, you see a different version of you walk into the room. They're still you. Same history, same loyalty, same heart. But there's a softness in their face that comes from not being on duty all the time. They take the sponge from your hand, turn off the tap and say quietly, "This can wait." Maybe they don't give a speech. Maybe they don't confront anyone. Maybe the first rebellion is as small as drying their hands, walking into the living room, and sitting down before everything is done. No one's world ends. Someone jokes about the mess. Someone else gets up to help. The sky does not fall. You feel a flicker of something unfamiliar in your chest. Not defiance, not rebellion. Just the absence of that constant buzzing fear. If you want more spaces where we unpack patterns like this, slowly, honestly, without naming you as the problem, you can subscribe. Not because you owe it to the channel, but because you're choosing to be somewhere that doesn't treat your love like a resource to exploit. You are allowed to let love be mutual, not managerial. You are allowed to rest inside relationships, not just maintain them. You are allowed to exist as a person, not just a promise. From carrying love like a debt to letting it arrive as a gift. From chasing everyone's approval to being met in shared responsibility. From living as the glue that holds everything together to becoming a whole, untangled human in your own right.